to another Seed Pod podcast.
Welcome.
We are doing The Chosen.
Yes, we are.
We are the final episode of season one.
Season one. And a good episode it was.
Tearjerker.
We had tears jerked.
We wept,
Yes, we did.
you know, and it's just all the characters you kind of really have started to really fall in love with, and a new one, you know, has kind of been brought in, the woman at the well. But just Jesus is, like I said, the acting of the person who plays Jesus.
Perfect.
His facial expressions,
Yes,
body language.
He's in the part. He's being it. Nicodemus, we talked.
yeah.
He knocks it dead.
Yeah, so I took some notes so we can kind of go part by part through the episode.
Okay.
And so it opens with a perfect opening that helps it also close.
Yeah, we're going back.
With Jacob, right, going all the way back to when he buys the land, or the land's been bought, and, you know, he's building the well, Jacob's well, which is what Jesus encounters.
Takes us to the woman at the well.
The Samaritan woman at. But the fact of the matter is that the people around, you know, I don't remember what nationality they said the person who came and questioned Jacob about.
Yeah, he's a black guy.
You know, and so he's essentially saying,
Maybe an Ethiopian.
basically this land is so useless.
Whatever you paid for it was too much.
Yeah, whatever you paid for it was too much. And the fact of the matter is, Jacob says, you know what? It's not the land that provides for us. It's always been God.
Which that gets interesting.
Yeah.
Because he said, well, it's going to be way down the road before we get it. He said, well, isn't it funny how God's always promising something you never get? And that's true of paganism, but with God, no, you get it when he says he's going to.
Yeah, and, you know, the thing is we have proof and evidence that though there was a delay in the promise,
And there needed to be.
that there was still the promise kept.
Yes.
You know, touched on that a little bit yesterday in my sermon about, you know, prophets come and say, hey, Jesus said he's coming back. Mm-hmm. Well, it's 2,000 years later and he's still not
He's
here.
not back.
But
He'll be back.
The fact of the matter is, we trust, and we've seen enough scripture, we've seen enough evidence of God keeping his promise, that even though we don't see it, we don't doubt it.
Right. It's the accumulation of things. You
Yeah.
can trust me. The whole thing there about trusting God and the time frame, we know that it was because the iniquity of the Amorite was not yet full.
Yeah.
So when God delays, he has good reasons, because he's going to cover all the bases. He's completely just. He's completely loving. He's going to take everything into consideration and give the very best working out.
Yeah, yeah. And I like you know, he says, so you believe in an invisible God?
Yeah, who broke your hip or
Yeah.
dislocated your hip?
Well, he did break my hip one time.
You know, it was that. What?
I love the little scattered humor
Yes,
they put in
yes.
parts. But because there is funny, I mean,
Yeah,
if you think
life
about
has
God
humor, yes.
breaking Jacob's hip, that is funny.
It is
when
funny.
you read
I
it,
mean,
like, why?
Well, you would have written it that way, wouldn't you? Well, maybe not.
Yeah, and you know, Hebrews picks up on that idea of the invisible attributes of God. We believe things were created by something invisible because of the visible things that we can see.
In fact, they tell us there's a whole bunch of invisible things out there that are more than we can see.
Yeah.
They can't find them or anything. But
Yeah.
dark matter, dark energy. There's just a whole lot folks don't know. So
Yeah.
trusting God because of the things we do know makes sense.
Yep. And I'm liking these Old Testament references they're doing,
Yeah.
because it makes you go back and have to read or know. And so this show is really getting you to
It all comes together.
analyze, you know, and I think this really should help us. You know, we have a hard time sometimes putting our Old Testament, New Testament, how
Yeah,
they go together. And they're doing it
They're doing it.
seamlessly, showing how these stories are
Those intros that then pick up. Yeah, I like that a lot.
they're interconnecting.
But Jesus, when he's talking to his people, and of course he's talking to people who are schooled in the Bible, they never raise their hand and say, who's Jacob or who's Abraham? We need to take a cue in our Bible school.
Yeah.
We need to make sure people are aware of these people so we can use them later for the bigger picture, and not beat them to death, but make them aware.
Yeah, because it can be, you know, in your preaching, it can be hard if you have to explain every story you reference. That's a long sermon, and I have
Yes.
long enough sermons already.
Well,
isn't it? You know?
What was it Jesus said in this one, the guy playing Jesus, that if we have to stop and debate everything along the way?
Oh.
That was so funny.
Yeah, they're on the road to Samaria. They don't know they're on the road to Samaria yet.
Yeah.
And they're, where are we going? Why are we taking 3 weeks of stuff? We were going for 6 weeks. And he's like, if we have to stop and have this question and answer session every, it's going to get quite annoying for all of us.
Yes, yes.
And you can actually read that when you're in the Gospels. You can read, Jesus, have I not been with you so long?
Getting annoyed.
Getting annoyed. Do you not understand these things?
Come on.
And so I really enjoy the
It's
personality
true to life.
between the disciples are slowly figuring out. There are times where they're like, come on, show us some stuff, show us some stuff.
The stuff about Simon Peter fighting, there's a
Yeah.
couple of those things in there that are kind of nuanced based on what's going to come up.
Yeah.
It's just, I like it.
Peter said, my fighting days are over.
yeah. And then later on he said, we'll turn that over to Peter if we have to fight. And he, yeah.
Yeah. And then he'll take out a knife and cut
Bless
a
his
man's
heart.
ear.
Cut off an ear. I'll send him fleeing.
So what do you think about the dinner party at Levi's house, Matthew's house?
I like it in substance.
Yeah.
I picture it differently, but the substance of it is honored, and it does what it needs to do, which is essentially that the Pharisees aren't going to care for him eating with sinners.
Yeah.
And they're there with their strict legalism, and he's saying, I came for sinners.
Yeah.
You can see the look on their face. He's obviously making sense, but they can't acknowledge the sense.
Yeah, they definitely take a lot of Jesus' sayings that happened that we know at different parts.
Yeah.
And they're kind of bringing it
putting
all
them in,
together because, they're trying to make it concise enough,
Yeah.
but also have a story that flows and not missing Jesus' words. But I like that the Pharisees are there. I like that
Being Pharisees.
they come by at night, and it's, those two main kind of represent the whole thinking of the Pharisees. And Matthew's change is really starting to affect Gaius.
Yes, it is. He actually has an affection which he offhandedly addresses with that kind of passive-aggressive thing there.
Yeah.
And he knows he's a wise. In fact, the comment is made he doesn't make decisions without really thinking about them. And he says this is true. And he knows it's true. He knows he just run off after somebody without thinking it through.
Yeah.
There's got to be something to it.
Yeah, and if Gaius isn't one of the centurions that has changed,
We're going to get our money back.
I'm done watching it.
Yeah, we're done.
The whole show is pointless. If you're listening, Chosen,
Do it.
Do it.
Redo it. Whatever.
no, it may have already been done, and we're just
It's got to be, don't you think?
they're setting it up.
Yes.
But the Pharisees really, their word, people are weighing every word you say. Jesus.
And they were. They
were.
absolutely were.
And that's how they did business.
Which in itself is wrong.
Yeah. Well, you can see they're not just putting Jesus on that. Look at the relationship with Shemuel and Nicodemus.
Yeah, he's kind of edging into Nicodemus. And Nicodemus is one of the things he says when he leaves Shemuel is, you haven't learned a thing from me. And he hadn't.
And I truly believe Nicodemus, for what we know about him in Scripture, was a different kind of Pharisee. Though he got caught up in all the same stuff they all got caught up in.
Oh, even Paul, despite all of the stuff
Yeah.
he did with the church, there's something going on inside of him that's not sold out to Phariseeism.
I think Nicodemus could have said something similar to Paul said that we were going through our Acts study. I did all this in all good conscience.
Yes.
He thought. But once you start seeing it, you start
Yeah.
seeing one little piece, how it's not there. When they keep talking about these golden plates and these golden, he's not comfortable with the honoring of man and the pomp.
It's working on him.
Yeah.
He's headed for the tipping point.
Yeah.
He almost gets there. Does
Yeah.
he leave some money for them for their journey? Which again, it's not a biblical thing, but it runs true.
Yeah.
And he's over there weeping and going through agony. And Jesus said something to the effect of, you were very close.
You were so close. Almost.
Almost.
And and I think his wife's comment to him, and of I love our life.
love our
Nicodemus."
life.
And he goes, I do too.
I do too. And that's the thing. Jesus calls you oftentimes for something that you've grown familiar with. It's your comfort zone. You like things about it. And you're not supposed to just hate it, but there's something that you need to embrace that puts that in a second place.
Yeah, that moment, even while watching it, made me think, even in my own life. And if this doesn't help, if you don't reflect in your own life,
What's
this
the
is
point?
kind of failing you. is there something God has called me to that I have said no to because comfort is greater than service?
You really have to examine yourself.
Yeah.
Because it's not wrong to have comfort, it's not wrong to enjoy things, but when that keeps us from doing the kinds of things we need to do, then it's not good.
Yeah, but I'm really, though that, like I said, that some of the Nicodemus stuff we don't have necessarily, but I think they're remaining true to the spirit of what we see Nicodemus is.
As long as I see that, I'm good. Because it's like sometimes in movies, somebody will point something out and I'll say, it's a movie. This is a series, and as long as I understand, they're trying to portray with a lot of accuracy, but the gist of what's going on, the feelings that would have been there, as long as they do that in a way that doesn't do violence to what the Scripture is working out, I'm okay with it.
Yeah, and I liked, I really enjoyed when Nicodemus, his wife, is talking about his mother's favorite phrase, that's from the mouth of Hagar, and, just that whole story of Hagar, why his mother always liked Hagar, the God who sees. And that Hagar was kind of pushed into a direction she would not have chosen for herself.
Yes, and he says, she's talking about sometimes you wind up in it. He says, sometimes maybe it's chosen for you.
Yeah, maybe God. Do you
God
think
puts
God
you
ever
there.
calls us because Nicodemus was called? Well, we didn't necessarily have it, but
he's got a harder road that he knows really, really, really he should choose.
Yeah.
And get closer and closer and closer. We'll eventually have him doing that later on.
Yeah.
But that's kind of, it doesn't all happen at once sometimes.
And I do like the explanation because a lot of people don't understand. Well, did Jesus ever really claim to be God? And Shmuel put it together that he claimed the Son of Man. And if he's really referencing
If
Daniel
he's doing
7,
Daniel, yes, he did.
and he went through this, he's like, I'm gonna pursue this. Because if he's really claiming this, then he's claiming a kingdom.
It's a false blasphemy.
And he's claiming to be God. And this is kind of the start of that tension.
Yeah.
Controversy.
People will say, detractors, that Jesus never actually said he was God. Well, he acts like he's God all the time.
Yeah. He does a lot of God-like things.
Like forgiving sins and whatnot. They were right when they said, only God can forgive sins.
Yeah. Now, I really did enjoy the kind of build-up to Jesus healing Peter's mother-in-law.
Yes.
Rather than doing it immediately. He could have done it back in episode 1 or 2.
Yes, he could have.
And yet, Peter, they didn't want to ask. Even there's a blind lady with them. And Jesus can heal all these people, yet his disciples they're coming and following him for more than just healings and miracles.
If you heal us, that'd be great, but if not, it's sort of like the Hebrew children. You can throw us in there, and if God doesn't want us burned up, okay, but if he does, okay, he's still God.
Yeah, and that whole scene when Ema gets up and
just like
where are we?
Bam!
Oh, everyone's seeing me. Basically,
what am I doing here?
And as an Israelite, she would have felt very unclothed and exposed. And she gets up and starts serving people.
Why aren't we serving these people?
And
Come
there's
on.
some brevity there. There's some laughter, but some serious thank you. And the whole Peter's wife, I wish we did have more on in Scripture, like what.
Bless her heart. She's got to be going through a lot.
I think they're doing it justice.
Yes.
In the sense of him being a married man, him having a mother-in-law, and they're kind of inserting, some potential conversations that would have happened.
Because Jesus would not have been insensitive to the fact that he's leaving his wife to go on the road. He wouldn't have dismiss that. And so the conversation, which isn't in the Bible, but it deals with that aspect of, I need to do something for you because it's hard enough being with Peter on the road, but when he's normal, so if you got stuff to worry about, so, and he has that little smile.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah. I think all the farewells, all the people leaving and the families, kind of wishing their family, off and the disciples having to leave. I think it kind of gives you that picture of they're really leaving.
These are real people living real situations.
And sometimes we think of traveling between cities. We get in cars, we take buses and trains, and we can be in hundreds of miles in hours.
Exactly.
There are days, weeks, journeys.
When Jesus finds out about Lazarus, and he goes down to see him, he's 100 miles away from him, and it's like, let's go. If we were going to have to walk 100 miles, we'd be, wow, what are you talking about?
Yeah, and especially knowing that you're going to go into a
Hostile situation.
hostile situation. And then the show
woman.
closes out with the woman at the well.
Mm-hmm.
And
Oh man.
I'll be honest with you. I think they probably did the woman at the well. It's one of the best characterizations of that
thought so.
entire situation.
That would have been a tough role to play, and I think she knocked it out.
She knocked it out. I think the way they possibly addressed why she has so many husbands.
Yeah.
So there's to me there's always been two approaches. It's either she was just a whore,
Yeah, plain
right,
and simple.
just plain
Yeah,
and simple.
Yeah.
Or there's the other where men were just passing her around and she had no. But this was her first husband wasn't that good to her.
Yep.
And they kind of had that.
Second one should have
And so
stayed with
she
him.
made bad choices.
Yeah, made bad choices.
And then stopped believing in the institution of marriage and kind of kept going with it. That's a third possibility where it has
Things like that happen to people.
her not being good but not bad, her being caught up in a bad situation, but then making bad choices on top of that, which is normally what life usually looks like.
Jesus converts prostitutes.
Yeah.
I'm sure if you were to go back and view their lives, you'd see all kind of yucky things in there and take snapshots of what this woman here. But Jesus looks beyond that to what could be possible.
This episode, by far, is my favorite so far.
When he's talking to her at the well,
Yeah.
and they get to it's lengthened out, but I would speak to you and he, and she's having this, and he starts naming off her husbands. Man,
And like
and you can see it on her face.
even well, because we have the general statement in John where it says
Yeah.
she's told me everything that I've ever, or
Yeah,
he's told me
yeah,
everything that I've ever
yeah.
done. We don't have that.
No, we don't have the whole conversation.
So they're supplying that does not bother me
No,
because
not
there
at all.
had we don't. That's what we got to understand when you're reading scripture.
The Gospels
You're reading
are-
select things that these gospel writers have chosen.
all the books in the world couldn't hold it if you
Yes.
put it all in there.
So there's more to the life of Jesus than just what we read.
As
And
long as what we see
It's
goes
consistent.
along with what we know God's up to,
Yeah.
I have no problem with it.
Yes, and I would just suggest that as you're encountering these in the Chosen, read the story that they're referencing,
Yes.
and see where they departed.
why are
and
they
ask-
doing this?
And ask yourself, well, it would have been a very choppy story to tell the way they're doing it without supplying something.
And
Because
sometimes we feel like they made a good supply,
Yeah.
and sometimes we feel like they didn't.
sometimes I don't think they did. There was a
Check it
couple.
out.
There's a couple choices with Nicodemus in previous episodes I didn't care for, but I can at least see why
Yes,
they chose to do
it's
that.
not like out of the air or anything.
Yeah, it's not out of the air. And so that's season one. And so far, season one has really, really intrigued me. It's made me look at the life of Jesus in a way that sometimes just a reading doesn't do.
No, it fleshes it out.
Yeah.
The end there where I thought was really good. She leaves what was the most important thing to her going up there, her vessel, and they zero in on it. And they said, "Wait, you forgot. She doesn't care anything about that anymore."
No. And the joy, like that actress, the display of despair and utter humiliation to like
Yeah, but the
Joy
Messiah
and-
still loves me and has a place for me. That's not. She can just live as she pleases. She understands that.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter what you've done. Jesus still has a place for you if you're willing.
I think it was
It's powerful.
powerful, well done. It brought tears to my eyes, and like I said, though it would have been hard, it would have been awesome to see and to be a part. And yeah, we get to be a part. God's not done working, and sometimes we think
There are women at the well yet.
yeah, and Jesus trained disciples to go and do what He did. And then those disciples trained disciples who trained disciples all the way down to us.
Here we are. Got the legacy.
And we are supposed to be finding these people. And, we had someone show up Sunday who, me and Israel had been working on. It was just when she walked in, she had been promising for a couple weeks to come and hadn't. And then when she did, I was just, the big smile come on your face. Because it doesn't always work.
No, most of the time it doesn't.
The invitation is always received. But when it is,
It's
it's a
gratifying.
wonderful thing.
Even if nothing else comes of it,
Yeah.
at least a step has been taken.
Yep. So, anyway, I think this episode by far,
It's my favorite.
great end to season one. I know I've watched maybe 1 or 2 episodes of season 2, but we're catching up to where I left off.
Okay.
So
okay.
it'll start being new to me. Even
And
this
it-
was new because I forgot a lot of this.
Yeah, you can get a phone app.
Yep.
I've got it. You can see it for free the first 2 seasons.
Yeah.
That's a good deal. Now they're asking you if you want to give some money, but they let you see it if you give money or not.
Yeah, and maybe we'll review the special Christmas episode they have on there. They do have one. Now this was before they ever created The Chosen. It was one of their first
Yeah,
things.
the precursor that gave the idea.
Yeah, I haven't watched it.
Shepherds.
I haven't
I
watched
have. I have.
it. Do you like it?
Yes.
Well, good.
Again,
Yeah.
it's kind of like, well, I'd have probably done this or that, and I think they could have done it better. But at the end of the day, it captures it.
Yeah, so maybe we'll watch it. Maybe we'll do a little quick review on that one as well someday.
Like seeing Jesus as the little guy there,
Oh, yeah. So, anyway, we hope that you have a great day. We hope you have a great week.
Great
And-
life.
Yeah, absolutely.
Come see us at Lenore City, if you will, if
Yeah.
you can. We're trying to do Jesus stuff here, and we need help because it takes a congregation.
Yeah, and as you're watching in the Chosen, who did Jesus leave out from being his disciple? Nobody.
Anybody that wants to crucify self and follow him,
No. But it's got to be your choice. I mean, Nicodemus was right around the corner.
oh man,
Weeping.
weeping.
The way we do evangelism, a lot of times in the numbers game, would have gone, you should have chased that guy around the corner.
Yeah, you
and
should have gone around the
dragged
corner.
him
Come
back."
on, Nicodemus, you're close.
You need to come.
Let's close this sale.
But it also it's so much more powerful when it's someone else's decision.
Nicodemus needs to
Yes.
make the decision
and
at
it's
the end
not
of the day.
there yet.
Yes, yes.
There yet. And Scripture teaches us that. So maybe you're not there yet, but we don't give hope up. We're not
Hang
giving
on.
up on you. God hasn't given up on you.
No,
And when you are ready, come to him and all who come to him.
he'll be ready for you when you're ready for him.
So we love you.
Yes, we do.
Hope you have a great day.
Bye-bye.